Hello, I'm Liao. Welcome back to our SvelteKit series. In the last video, we learned about routing. We learned about the basics about routing, about how we can create a page component, and then we can configure that for which URL routes we can match to which Svelte page component. And we also have explored how we can create dynamic paths, where certain segments of the paths is a dynamic parameter where you can put any value and then still able to match the routes components in your SvelteKit project. And today we're going to go one step further. We're going to go to learn a bit more advanced concepts in our routing, namely how we can create rest parameters, which means the parameters can match multiple segments of your path. We can also learn about optional parameters, where certain parameters can be optional. Okay, and then lastly, we're going to cover about matches. Basically, some validation of the parameters, where we say that the content of the parameters have to match a certain patterns that you set up. And if it does not, then it does not match the routes. Okay, so we're going to learn these three things, and let's see how we can start. Let's go. So the first thing is, if you recall in the last video, we say that to determine which components will be matched to which routes in SvelteKit project, we use a file-based routing, right? So if you want to have a path for or slash, then you create a folder structure under the source routes folder, and then you create a component, a special component named plus page.svelte, right? And this is how we create a component for the watch URL, a component for the feed URL, and then we have components for dynamic parameters, where you can use square brackets as dynamic parameters. Before we move on, let me show you something that will be talked about in the future. But let me show you quickly because it will be very helpful in this video. So for example, in the when we say that this has these two parameters, the arc and repo, but we want to see the value of that parameters. So there's multiple ways of doing that in SvelteKit, but let me show you one simple one without introducing too many things, right? So first thing is that in SvelteKit, there is this modules that you can import from app.stars. So this is a virtual module or special modules from SvelteKit you can import, and you can import this thing called page, and this page gives you the information about the current page on the screen, and it's a Svelte store. And it includes a lot of information. And one of the most important ones that we are interested now is the params. Basically, it tells you what is the value that it matches on for the current route. So if I, this is an object, so to show it on the screen, I'm going to stringify into a string and let you see that what is the value that we have in the page params where we match this current path. Right, so I've saved this. Let me go to my browser. And if I visit this A, B, C, D, E, F, then you can see that it matches where the arc is A, B, C and the repo is D, E, F. Right, so if I change this to X, Y, Z, then the repo is X, Y, Z, the organization is A, B, C. Right, so this is a quick way to know what is being matched and what is the value that we have matched for this current page. So sometimes your parameters can be across multiple segments. For example, if you come over here and we go to GitHub and say we go to the Svelte.js web repository, and if I come here and then open one of those files, right? If I go in to open one of the files within your Svelte repo, you will notice that the URL looks like this. Let me copy this into our editor. So URL looks like this, right? So this is the domain, so we can ignore. But if you look at the URL, we have the organization, right? So this is the let me map it. This is the organization. And then this is the repo. Okay, this is the repo. And then later on, this is the branch name, the branch. And then the rest is actually the path to the file paths within the repository, within the branch, right? So this whole thing, we want to match it to a parameter. So inside a parameter, you can match any characters, but not the slash character, right? So if you have a whole path that contains slash, then it will not be matched, right? So if you try to create a maybe like a path, and then you create a component that looks like this, right? So let's create this component file, and the file page. You save this, and you try to open this URL, right? Try to open this this path in here. You see that, whoops, let me remove the colon. You see that it does not match anything. It is still a 404 not found. That's because the parameters cannot contain multiple, you cannot contain slash. You can contain any character but not slash, right? So if you go back here and we do this, right? So if you have only one segment of the path, then you have the content, right? But if you have more segments, right, like something like this, then it does not work. So how do we go about solving this? In SvelteKit, this calls for the rest parameters. So the rest parameter is like your rest spread. It's easy to remember. All you need is to put 3 dots in front of the segments. Then it tells SvelteKit that these parameters can match any characters, including the segments as well. Okay, so if I'm going to come here and then edit this to include 3 dots, and let's refresh this page. Now you can see that this whole thing is being matched by this rest parameters. Okay, and then whether you have only one segment or you have multiple segments, or sorry, one segment looks like this, this still match. Multiple segments, it still works. Or even if you have nothing, it still match. When you have rest parameters, it can be 0, it can be 1, it can be none. Okay, unlike your normal parameters, it has to match at least one character, right? Because it is like one segment of the path. But this, when you use a rest parameters, you say that you can have multiple segments. It could be 0 segment, 1 segment, or multiple segments. And to make sure that you understand it in depth, let's take a look what is the value of the parameters using the trick that I just showed you earlier. Right, so here I can come in and import the page store, and then we can JSON stringify the page.params. Let's save this and let's go to the browser, and you see that now the org is Svelte.js, the repo is Svelte, the branch is main, and the path is this thing, right? It matches what we're expecting. And if you remove all this, then the path is packages, right? We can change, of course, the org to something else. And we can also remove this path, right? So the path now matches 0, 1, or many segments, and it can match 0 segments. So if it matches 0 segments, now the content is empty string. And hopefully by this, you can visualize it clearer on what it can be matched by your rest parameters. Yo! I recently published a book on Svelte called Real World Svelte. It contains various knowledge about Svelte, including Svelte context, Svelte actions, stores, and transitions. If you're interested about this book, you can get it on Amazon, and I've put the link in the description. Go get it! So we've learned about the rest parameters where you can match 0, 1, or many path segments. Let's take a look at another type of parameters where you can match 0 and 1 path segments, which is the optional parameters. The use of optional parameters is common sometimes in certain websites where they want to support different regions or different languages. For example, after searching through the web, I realized that this is a pattern being used by the Apple website. If you go to apple.com, you realize that you can buy, you can see the URL is iPhone, apple.com/iPhone, right? So let me copy this in over here, right? This is apple.com. So iPhone is the route. And then you can switch to different regions. For example, I'm currently in Singapore. I can continue to Singapore, and you realize that boom, there are all changes by adding one more segment here called SG iPhone. right? So this is the URL, right? The SG iPhone. And you can also go to different region. For example, I can choose a different region, such as maybe from Egypt, right? Then you see that I'm going to apple.com Egypt, and if I go to the iPhone segments, I'm going to be Egypt iPhone, right? I am going to the Egypt iPhone, right? So this part is optional, and these are the common the routes over here, right? This segment seems like it's optional. Of course, I'm not sure how iPhone, the Apple website, whether it's built using SvelteKit or how they organize this. Maybe they use a different components, but definitely you can see that if you go to different regions, all the segments that they have, right? All the segments they have. If you go to Uruguay, you can see that here, right? You have the region and then iPhone, and it's quite this pattern. This is how they design their URL, right? You can have iPad, right? And you can go to SG iPad, UG iPad, EG iPad. So all of these routes, it seems like the content, it's like they have this segment is optional, right? Of course, it's up to you how you want to organize your SvelteKit project, right? It can be where you want to have, you create a page component for each of them, right? So basically something that looks like this, where each of this, you have a source routes, and then this path, and then plus page.svelte. You can create 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different page components for each of the different region and different phone different models from products from Apple. That's fine, it's up to you. But you could also maybe for different regions, most of the things are the same, just the pricing and maybe some little tweakings. Then maybe you would want to create just one page component for one products from Apple, right? And in that case, because this part is optional, it can be 0, it can be 1, but never more than that. Then what you want to create is source routes. You use parameters. This is the region, and then /iPhone /plus page.svelte. You create this file like this, right? This is for iPad. But because this, if you create this, it will never able to match iPhone because you have to have something over here, right? So we have to make it optional, and the way to make it optional is to use double square brackets. Okay, so 3 dots for res parameters, double brackets for optional parameters, right? So if you put double brackets, it'll be optional. So let's try this. Let's create this file path in your routes folder, right? And then here is the iPhone page, and also I'm gonna import again the page parameters. Import page. Page.params. Save this. And let's go to our website. We go to iPhone. Boom, you can match you can still see this component, right? Because it is optional, it doesn't have to include something. If you don't have it, if you don't have the double brackets, then if you refresh this, this is not the page you match, right? It doesn't matches your page, but because we previously have a page under channels name, then it will match that, right? If we scratch that, then this is 4 that doesn't match anything, right? So it has to be you will need to make it, okay, let me undo this first. You have to make it optional, right? If it's optional, yay, you can have this without any segments, right? And later on, you can also add something in here. then you can see, boom, it matches the region as SG, and then you still match this is the iPhone page. But only 0 or 1 path segments, right? It's optional, it's not more, right? So if you try to add more things over here, doesn't work. Doesn't work that way, okay? So only matches 0 or 1. If you want to match many, 0, 1, or many, then you use the rest parameters. So if you learn about the rest parameters, the optional parameters, and now the last thing about this video we're going to learn about is how we can add validation to your parameters, right? So for example, in this case that we just see over here, we have region is SG, but not all regions values are valid, right? You probably have a list of regions that you only support, and only if and only if it matches those, it works. If it does not, it's not a valid region, right? Maybe like if someone types in hello world, it's not a region. So we need to create validation. So in SvelteKit, the validation for parameters is called a params matcher, because it wants to match your when you want to match your parameter by SvelteKit, it will do basic matching, but you can create your custom matchers to add additional validation logic to make sure that this matches what you are expecting. If it does, then it will match these routes, and if it does not, then no, we don't accept it. Okay, so here I'm going to show you how you can create a params matcher in SvelteKit. In SvelteKit, your params matcher, you can create it in this folder called source params. Oh, sorry, I should create a folder, not a file. Folder will params. And inside the params folder, you can create any file you like. Okay, any name you like. You just name it the best way, that the most descriptive way to describe what you want to create, right? So the name of the file matters, because we're going to use the name of the file later on to refer to my matchers, right? So for example, I want to create a matchers to match the region. Then I will create a file called region or ts, and this will give us a region matcher for region. And in this file, there's only one export that matters, and it's called the match function. And in this function, you get the parameters. So this parameters is the value that you will get. Is the values that you will get when you matches this your route, your URL, right? So here we're gonna expect that this value will be passed in by SvelteKit to our matchers if we're gonna use this region matcher, right? So the file of the name matters when we're gonna reference to a matcher, right? It does not have to match the name of the parameters that we're using, right? It is just the name of the matcher that we're gonna use. So here, this is the value that we'll get, and we're gonna say that we only limit ourselves into a few regions, right? So we're gonna check if params equals to SG, or maybe equals to EG, right? For now, let's just assume that it has to be equals to this, or else, no, we're not accepting it. Right? So let's save this. Let's save this matcher, and we're gonna use this matcher. Right? To use the matcher, the syntax we're gonna use is called equals region equals to the matcher name. Right? So the first region is the parameters name that we're gonna match, and then the second region is the name of the matchers that we are using. Let's save this. So I refresh this again, you realize that does not match anything, does not match our iPhone page anymore, because the hello world does not match our path, right? Our component, because the we say that we use a region matcher, it has to be from SG or EG, right? So if I come over here and replace this with SG, yay, it matches, right? So this matches because it matches this, right? This returns a true or false value from our match, and if it's true, yes, we match. If it's false, then no. So we can try again. If you go to EG, yay, it works. And because this is an optional parameters, if you go to say nothing, still works. Nothing, because it's optional, still works. Okay. So here we've learned about matches. You can create as many matches as you want. For example, I can come over here and create matches that says that for organization, right? Maybe we're gonna match we're gonna have a matcher for this organization, and I'm gonna say that match params. I'm gonna say that this organization, the length must less than 5 characters. Okay, cannot be longer than that. So here I can come over here and add this matcher organization, right? So this again, when you see this is the name of the parameters, and this is the name of the matcher, and the name of the matcher is based on the file name in your params folder, right? If you try to be funny, try to type something that is not available, you can see that refresh that it will tell you no matcher found for parameter organization in the routes, this one, because there's no such matcher, right? The name of this file is called organization with an N, right? So let's change it back and then refresh. You see that it works now. And so let's try to visit this path, right? Just now we have, let me see, this routes, right? Svelte.js, let's copy this, paste this in. Oh no, it doesn't work, because we expect that this organization has to be less than 5 characters. So if I change this to A, B, C, D, oh, hold on. Path repo. Oh, hold on. I think I undo something. Hold on. This path needs to be arrays parameters. Okay, it works for A, B, C, D. But if we go to Svelte.js, does not work because it's too long. The organization name is too long, right? So this is very useful for matching. When you want to match your parameters, you add additional validation logic for your parameters. You can tell that maybe for certain paths, it has to be a number. It has to be integer, right? So you can check. You can go to your matches and can write your logic to verify that this string contains only integers, right? You can also come in and say that you can validate that, for example, if you come over here, you see that for channel's name, it has to always start with an sign, right? So we can also create this matcher that says that, okay, once we match for a channel name, we can have a channel matcher that says that this this parameter has to start with an alias, right? If it does not, then this does not match this component. This component, try other routes or try other things, right? If not, you can't find anything, 4. That's it. Alright, so in this video, hopefully you've learned about how you can the advanced parameters technique. You learn about how you can create a rest parameters where you can match 0, 1 or many segments. You can have a optional parameters where you can match 0 to 1 only parameters. And then lastly, we learn about how we can create custom validation for your parameters to say that what values can go into our parameters and what cannot, right? And that's it for this video. If you like this video, give me a huge thumbs up. And remember to subscribe to my channel so that you get notified when we continue our SvelteKit journey. So see ya, bye bye! I will be doing my first in-person workshop in London about Svelte and SvelteKit this year, 4th of April 2024. We will be building a photo album app using SvelteKit and Cloudinary. Tickets are selling fast, and I will see you there!